quality review board came to school on Thursday and Friday, so the whole English department was up in arms because the school in which I work has not made quote-unquote adequate yearly progress for 2 consecutive years. Now, under No Child Left Behind, if for some reason, and there's a plethora of reasons, that a school does not make adequate yearly progress for 3 consecutive years, they endanger the school and potentially can split them into many different schools. That being said, I developed a lesson plan, sat down and actually worked hard on a lesson plan, only to not have them even show up. However, that's neither here nor there. Today I want to discuss the contents of that lesson plan, which, as it turned out to be both days of class. The first day kind of devolved, or maybe even evolved, into a therapy session for the students, so most of what took place happened today on Friday. So if you've been with me for more than, I don't know, a month or since I put up MW3, you'll know that I am teaching the Hunger Games, and in a typical dystopian novel/film, one of the main motifs or themes that is present is that of trust. When the world ends, basically, it's every man for himself, so there's not much trust to go around. So I posed the question to the class, do you think this class is trustworthy? Who is the most trustworthy person? Who is the least trustworthy person? And why do you believe this? Well, for the most part, they agreed that it was hard to say, that they didn't know their fellow students well enough to make a judgment call. However, I received a number of interesting tidbits, here and there about instances of their life in which their trust had been broken, so to speak. After that, I had an interesting activity, and this is, of course, the main issue I want to raise in this commentary. What I did was I made an envelope, put period number X on it for that period, and filled the envelope with empty pieces of paper. Now, what I told the students was the papers in this envelope were the first 3 pages to the Book 1 examination that's going to be going on either next week or the week after, depending upon how the classroom flows. Now, the idea behind this was to pass the envelope from person to person and, to examine it. If you took the contents of the envelope, you would be at a great advantage for the next test. You would have answers to, I guess, about 25 questions, and you would likely get an awesome score on the exam. However, if nobody took the contents of the envelope so much as opened it, then everybody, and this is dependent upon whether I get the envelope back at the end of class, everybody would get extra credit on the exam. So, a huge risk-reward. You take the envelope, get the questions, get 100, or you let the envelope go, and everybody benefits. Perhaps not as much, but generally speaking, a good deed is done, and you're rewarded for it. Now, the pages in the envelope were blank, obviously, because I'm not willing to give students 25 questions on an upcoming exam. That would be a bit of a mistake. So, the main goal here was, to see if they had the guts, the fortitude, to let the envelope go. Initially, I thought that, yes, they would let it go, that they like and respect one another, not to screw over everyone, basically. Now, when I brought this up with my fellow student teacher, he also believed that they wouldn't open it, that they would all come together and share the points. So, I handed it to my first student, and to my surprise, his first reaction was to hold on to the envelope and just hide it, essentially, until the end of class to give back to me, which I thought was really interesting. But, of course, that went against the rules of the game, and it kind of took the fun out of it. So I told them, look, guys, you have to pass the envelope. Everybody has to touch it at least once. So, after some coaxing, and a lot of chit-chat. They agreed to pass the envelope. So, one by one, it exchanges hands. They hold it up to the light to see if they can make out things from it, because I didn't write that stipulation into the agreement. But there's no words or anything because the pages were blank, but of course I lied to them and said, "Listen, I'm not that stupid. I wrapped the whole thing in a blank piece of paper so you can't read the questions." They bought this, I guess, and continued to pass the whole thing. Now, I was feeling pretty good and hopeful for the future because this envelope was making steadfast movements across the room. 3/4 of the way, however, a girl, coaxed by 2 others, opened the envelope, and shamelessly at that, just opened it up in front of me, in front of my cooperating teacher, while I was nose deep in a book. Her excuse, of course, was, in hindsight, that she would get the answers and share them all on Facebook. Well, we can all assume that that was bullshit, and that she was simply peer pressured by 2 others into opening this envelope for their triad of furtherment in the class, and especially on this exam. So, trust, therefore, in this classroom, does not exist. I thought I would just share a little anecdote from today and express my disbelief that someone would actually do something to that effect. So, here's the question I pose to you. If you're in the same situation, do you open the envelope? Thanks for watching.